I didn't change my offer. I didn't add new features, and I didn't even improve the delivery. I just changed how people saw it. And I've been able to charge 10 times more for the same thing. And that's the power of positioning. For most people, positioning is, oh yeah, it's just about changing your niche. Or, oh yeah, it's just about finding a new target. Or it's about changing your bio and rewriting your Instagram headline. The truth is, repositioning is not cosmetic. It's psychological. It's not about changing what you say. It's about changing how people perceive you. Now, the question is how to do it, how to change what people perceive when they think of you. There are actually two ways. You can change your offer positioning or you can change your personal brand positioning. These are two different things, but you will see later that they're directly related. So changing your offer positioning is about defining how unique your offer is, and changing your personal brand positioning is about defining how unique you are as a person. But in any case, it's always about uniqueness. You have two ways to improve your offer positioning. The first one is to choose carefully who you're selling to. And the second one is to choose what is your unique mechanism. We're going to get to this in a second, but to improve your personal brand positioning, you have three aspects you need to nail: the education aspect, the person aspect, and the brand aspect. Why? Because coaches and consultants are what I like to call educational personal brands. They're basically personal brands educating people about a certain topic. That's why the three aspects we've seen here are the three aspects of educational personal brand: the education, the person, and the brand aspect. And as I told you, they both need to work together, personal brand and the offer. And that's pretty logic, because what you're going to say in your messaging through your personal brand needs to match your offer. And if you're able to make both of them work together, you'll reach what I call the perfect positioning, which is the perfect offer positioning and the perfect personal brand positioning. Now, we're going to dive into those two aspects, the offer positioning first, and then we're going to dive into the personal brand positioning. And hold on, because this is going to go deep into what exactly positioning is and what makes people stand out online. Because most people don't know about all the psychological strategies behind a brand. They think a personal brand is just about posting some videos of you. It's not. There are hundreds of small aspects you need to define and nail everywhere in order to have a powerful brand. Now, that's exactly what we're going to see here. Let's start with the offer positioning. So as I told you, you have two ways to improve it. The first one is to choose who you're selling it to. The second one is to choose your unique mechanism. Let's start with the first. You need to understand that when you try to please everyone, you end up pleasing no one. And that's why you've probably heard this before, but you must niche down. Because when you niche down, you can charge a higher price because you serve people much deeper as it's a specific audience. On the other hand, your messaging becomes 10 times clearer. And the clearer your messaging, the quicker people buy. And even better, you become the obvious choice in the niche because people instantly think of you when you become like the king of one niche. Now, let me show you the best example for this that is going to make everything clear for you. The bad example here would be you are a fitness coach that helps men lose weight. I mean, you're going to be seen as the lose weight coach. And the problem with that is that thousands of people are offering the same coaching as you. On the other hand, your messaging is broad and not targeting, which means you're basically a commodity. And that's what we want to avoid at all costs, because when you're in this situation, you only have two ways to compete, which is either you have an insanely famous personal brand and people turn to you because you are the most famous name in the place, or you need to compete on price. And that's the worst thing that could happen to you in business. If you need to compete on price, it's because something is going wrong. Now, the best example here is that you're a fitness coach that helps obese entrepreneurs lose weight and become fit without sacrificing their business. See how here you become the lose weight coach for obese entrepreneurs. You have your own niche. And the good thing is that not a lot of people are offering that. Maybe you have competitors, of course, but you don't have millions of them, which means you can charge a higher price. Also, your messaging is much clearer and sharper, and you become the obvious choice in the niche. By the way, see how here we got smart and we directly targeted an audience that already has money, so we know they will be able to afford the program. This is another trick. Now, I know niching down is a counterintuitive move because it feels like you're missing on the opportunity to serve much more clients and as a result to make much more money. But it's actually the opposite, because let me show you this metaphor that helped me so much understand the importance of niching down. Most people try to be a light bulb. They want to shine everywhere like this because they think that by lighting up a big room, they'll attract more people. But the problem is that a light bulb spreads its energy in every direction. So the light is weak. Of course, it's bright enough to be seen, but not strong enough to cut through anything. When you niche down, you stop being a light bulb, okay? But you become a laser. A laser doesn't try to light up everything. It focuses all its energy on one single point. And that's exactly why it can cut through steel. It feels counterintuitive. You think narrowing your beam means fewer people will see, but in reality, that's what gives you power, precision, and impact. The broader you go, the more invisible you become. And the narrower you go, the more undeniable you become. So yeah, that was for who are you selling to part. But there is the second part. What is your unique mechanism? Because let's be honest, just targeting a more specific audience isn't enough. You need what we call a unique mechanism. A unique mechanism is what is going to make you able to instantly stand out, because while everyone else says, I will help you get X result, you say, I will help you get X result with X method. And this why changes everything. It makes you move from just another option to only option that makes sense. It literally makes you stand out so much that it makes your marketing 10 times easier. Having a unique mechanism also creates curiosity. People stop scrolling because they've never heard of your approach before, which makes your content, your landing pages, your offer, everything more sticky. A unique mechanism builds trust faster because it makes you sound like someone who actually understands the problem. And it also justifies a higher price, and that's when it gets interesting. When you have a unique mechanism, it looks like you have a proprietary system, not just a generic service. And when people believe you're the only one that has this method, they will apply to pay more. And at that point, price resistance drops dramatically because uniqueness means perceived value. Once again, let me give you a crazy good example. So this is the bad example. I help people lose weight. And this is the good example. I help people lose weight with the hacked metabolic method. It directly sounds more interesting, more curiosity arousing. And it makes you want to know, what is this method? And the name actually sounds premium, so only does good to your business. And at that point, what really makes sense is to mix the unique mechanism and the specific audience that we've defined just before here to have the perfect combo. Here's how it would look. I help obese entrepreneurs lose weight with the hacked metabolic method. Here you have all the elements you need, but we can make it even better. Because the more specific you are in your offer and in your promise, the better your positioning. Let me show you. I might be dropping a bit too much sauce here, but let's do it anyways. Using the unique mechanism and the specific target are the two main things that will make your positioning. Let's be honest, they're the two core things. You really need to have them. But we can make it even better and more powerful if we surround these two elements with other elements that can build on top of them to make them even more powerful. These elements I'm going to give you are what will make your promise for your offer. And the more specific, and I will emphasize this even more, the more specific your promise and your offer and your messaging, the better. So here are the elements you need to add. So we already had the specific person and the specific mechanism, but we didn't have the specific problem we helped them solve, the specific result we helped them achieve, the specific time frame it takes, and without the specific pain they want to avoid. All these 6 things together make the perfect offer promise. And I'm going to tell you an example. So here is the perfect framework. Is literally those elements inside one sentence. I have specific person with specific problem, achieve specific result, blah, 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 blah. You can read. And the example is, I help obese entrepreneurs who struggle to lose weight and are overwhelmed by work. This is the problem they're facing. Shed 10 to 15 kilos. This is the result we promise. Within 90 days, this is the time frame. Without restrictive diets, this is the pain they want to avoid. And with the hacked metabolic method. And this is the perfect promise. You cannot have a better promise than this. So make sure to save or screenshot this framework right now. Okay, so this was for the offer positioning, but remember we have personal brand positioning that is also extremely important. And as I told you before, coaches, consultants, infopreneurs, they all fall into the category that I call educational personal brand, EPBs. It's basically people that have a personal brand and that educate people online. And I get this name of educational personal brand because we have 3 aspects in your brand. When you are an educational personal brand, you are not just a brand because you're a person, right? With your own identity and personality. This is the personal aspects. But you're not just a person because you're a brand with a unique vibe and artistic direction. That's the brand aspect. But you're not only a personal brand because you're actually an educator, and that's the educational aspect. And all these 3 elements are the 3 aspects you need to focus on in order to nail your positioning online, your personal brand positioning. So we have the education aspect, person aspect, brand aspect. Let's dive in real quick. Inside the education aspect, you have 3 things that are really important to define. The first one is your domain of expertise, and this should be directly linked to your offer. This part is basically what are you good at and what do you charge money for? Let me give you some examples. You can charge money for scaling coaches and consultants. You help obese people lose weight, help people build lasting relationships. What are you good at? The second thing you need to define is the one thing you want to be known for. For example, Iman Gaji is the SMMA guy. People can put him in a box and he becomes famous for this one thing, and that's what you need to define for yourself. And this thing you want to be known for can either be a specific business model. For example, Iman is SMMA, Center Stage is IPGA. For me, it's the productized consulting model. It can also be a specific method that you become famous for. For example, the hacked metabolism, or for me, the persuasion funnel, or it can be a specific skill. For example, it can be copywriting. I'm thinking of Dan Coe right now. Or it could be productivity. I'm thinking of Ali Abdal right now. So you should choose one of these 3, but it can happen that you have 2. Like me, I have the persuasion funnel and the productized consulting. At the beginning of the journey, you can try many different things, but after you need to really focus on this one thing. Because when people hear your name, they should be like, oh yeah, he's the SMMA guy. Boom, you're in the box, and that's the power of branding. Now, the third thing you need to nail is the main topics you want to talk about online. Because you won't only talk about the thing you want to be known for. You won't only talk about this thing you choose here, right? Like Iman Gaji doesn't make all his videos about SMMA. He also talks about self-improvement and about like more broad business advice. And all these topics kind of support his main topic. And that's where they're also extremely important to define. For example, for me, the topics I'm going to talk about are scaling coaches and consultants, personal branding and positioning for standing out, human psychology for getting people to buy, and also the importance of wisdom in business. This is more a personal side. And all these 4 things support my core thing, which is either persuasion funnel or the productized consulting. And that makes it even more powerful. These topics you're going to talk about every single week. They're literally what people would associate with you. Like my goal is to get people think of me like, oh yeah, he's the guy that helps coaches scale through personal branding and human psychology with his persuasion funnel. You know, those things that all go together. So don't be afraid to repeat these things over and over and over again in your content, because that's how you build a powerful brand. Like you might think people would get bored because you repeat the same thing over and over again, but that's actually the opposite. That's what makes your brand even more powerful. Like ask yourself how many times Nike has said the same fucking thing, just do it. How many times? That's what makes a powerful brand, because when you post 30 pieces of content, most people only see 1 or 2. So when you think the world is tired of what you say, the truth is most people don't even know you yet. I got this from Alex Ramirez. Now, the second aspect of an educational personal brand is the person. You need to define your mission. This is mine, I'll let you read. And this is my side mission, I'm not going to go through that. You need to define your origin story, because people love stories and they need to know your story, because that's what makes them connect. That's what builds trust. Same as the mission, when they can connect to your mission, it adds another layer of proof of trust that makes them closer to buy. So please take the time to define your origin story so they know who you are, where you come from, why you do what you do. And once it's clear, you can share it naturally in your content. Because people don't remember facts, they remember stories. So become great at telling yours. Now, I'm going to give you a good example for this. Daniel Dalen. He's the Dutch guy that moved to China, that learned Chinese, and that started doing business there. Like, it's a pretty cool story and you remember it pretty easily. And that's something that makes his brand pretty powerful. Now, the last thing you need to define is what makes you you. All the small things about you that make you iconic. Your personality, your vibe, etc. For example, Daniel Dalen, once again, what makes him unique is his editing style, his POV thumbnails, his smile, iconic glasses, the red lights behind him, the yellow caption titles. All these things are what made this guy Daniel Dalen. And this is all the things for me. My weird background decor, my great turtleneck, this series that you're watching right now that is called Deconstructed, my love for human psychology, the mission of decentralized education, the productized consulting, the Swiss vibe that you will see on my Instagram with the luxury and the mountains, the mix between entrepreneurship and wisdom, the name EPB, all these things are what makes this guy Nicholas Clay. Now, this was for the personal aspect, but for the brand aspect, we're going to talk more here about the aesthetics because, of course, everything we've covered so far in the personal and educational aspect is already branding. Because, quick reminder, branding means associations. Most people don't know how to define branding. They think it's a logo. They think it's brand colors. No, branding equals associations. And logo, brand colors are part of these associations. But to make a brand, you need many associations. So every single association people make with you is part of your brand. Now, the association we've talked about so far with the personal and educational aspects are what I call mental associations. They're mostly about the topics people connect with you. But here in the brand aspect, it's much more about aesthetics. And even in this, most people think branding, but in reality, there are many other elements that we can define to create a truly powerful brand. Let's dive in. Here are all the things that you can define in terms of aesthetics. We have the brand colors. Here are mine. We have the fonts, the visual identity. You can create sort of a board like me here. You have your background in your YouTube videos. It's a huge part of your branding. You have the music you use. For me, it's the modern synth that you can hear in every single video. You have the sound effects you use. For me, it's the modern UI that kind of matches the vibe of the synth. And you have even the clothes you wear. For me, it's this great turtleneck I put in every single video because I understand that the easier it is for people to put you in a box and to remember you, the more powerful the branding. And that's basically what I say here. When people hear your name, associations should instantly light up in their mind. They should feel something right away. They should feel your vibe. Like if I say Iman Gaji, you will feel something different than if I say Daniel Dalen. And that's the power of branding. So that was for the personal brand aspects. And after all of this, we can summarize this. To have the perfect positioning, you need to nail positioning of your offer and the positioning of your personal brand. To nail this positioning of your offer, you need to target a specific audience and to create a unique mechanism. And for the one of your personal brand, you need to nail the education part, the person part, and the brand part. When all of that is nailed, you have what I call perfect positioning, and then you can charge 10 times more. And I know it sounds crazy, but it does work. I used to think these things were just details, but they're not. They really matter, especially in the long term. If you know how to build a powerful brand and on the side you have a powerful offer, you are here to crush it. 100K, 200K, 300K per month. So please do not neglect positioning. Friend, I think it's enough for today. So thanks for watching this video and see you next week.